I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-Minute Convos, where I help you create a brand of your own unique real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good morning, Spud Murphy. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful morning?
I'm very good, man. How are you?
I'm great. In Trinidad, we have a saying, if it's nice, do it twice.
Yeah, very good. I like it.
So, Spud, tell me, what part of the world are you in right now?
So I'm in a city called Katowice. It's in the southwest of Poland. It's not too far from Krakow. Originally, I come from a place in the southeast of Ireland, Timon in County Wexford. And I moved here about 8 years ago with my wife. Ireland had a bad recession and we moved here for some work. And we like it here. It's nice.
Wonderful. Well, tell me, which of your talents is responsible for us meeting?
You found me through LinkedIn. I have a page there where I mostly post about my podcast. I run a podcast called The Comedy Cast, where I interview stand-up comedians and comedy professionals from all over the world. Now, I know comedy professional sounds like it's the same as stand-up comedians, but it's not. What I mean by comedy professionals are people like, writers for comedy shows or sitcoms, things like that, and as well, comedy are people who write comedy books, self-help kind of how to be a stand-up comedian, those type of books, and then also actual funny books, and as well people like directors who make comedy films, and as well people who run stand-up comedy courses. But I suppose the main focus is actually stand-up comedians, and I love doing it. It's really interesting because everyone has a totally different story and of how they got into it and why they get into it, and of course they all have a different kind of style and of comedy and a way of looking at the world as well. So it's really interesting to speak to comedians.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I saw on, well, you do video, right? Which is
Yeah, I
pretty
do.
cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I do video as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it was interesting to see how people were opening up to what you were saying. It's like, I trust Spud, probably because his first name is 4 letters, right?
Yeah, well, I want. I'm not really sure how I got the nickname. It's one of those. It's a strange nickname because my dad had the nickname and his dad had the nickname, and we kind of have this thing in Ireland that there are a lot of Spud Murphys. This is a very common nickname, but somebody told me that to be a real Spud Murphy, your name has to be Patrick Murphy. So I'm Patrick Murphy. My dad is Patrick. His dad was Patrick. So it goes back a few generations. But it's Spud, and I suppose I want people to call me Spud because that was my nickname in school and in secondary school, and that's what all my best friends called me. So by telling people to use my nickname, I suppose I'm telling them, yeah, let's be friends and let's be open with each other, And
Exactly.
I suppose the thing is, this from interviewing people as well, is that it's the easiest people to interview are the people who are very passionate about something because they really want to talk about what they love, So that's it really, I suppose.
So who did you learn this from? This skill. This is like the unwritten, like you don't find this in a school book, right?
No,
Uh,
not at all. Well, look, I did actually study journalism, and the best tip that I picked up for interviewing when I was studying was that just to let the person you're interviewing speak. So in a normal conversation, people, they jump in and out of conversation. Sometimes they cut across each other, but our lecturer, our professor in university or college, he said to us, when the interviewee stops speaking, just count to three in your head, because when you leave 3 seconds after someone stops speaking, it leaves this kind of uncomfortable silence, and people who are speaking, they feel compelled to fill it. So you often get much more out of your interviewee the less you speak. But that's just one tip. But I suppose really what I learned, my way of interviewing was just from watching the people who I like to interview. So I mean, I really like Louis Theroux, who does BBC stuff. There was an Irish. Um, he used to host the Late Late Show on Irish TV for many, many years. It's the longest running late night show on TV in the world, and he did it for a long, long time. And his style of interviewing was very kind of informal. He would start off with, the kind of easy questions. Tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, why are you here, what are you promoting, and then he would kind of, when they're comfortable, then he would delve a bit deeper into like maybe some issues or some recent controversy or some things like that. So it's kind of like, you butter people up. You know what I mean? You make them comfortable, and then I mean, I'm not an aggressive interviewer. I don't want people thinking like Jeremy Paxman ranting, but it's just getting people to a level of comfort where they're more open with their conversations.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Exactly.
Well, please do tell me one other thing that you do consistently. Let's say over the last 3 years.
To me with the podcast, like, God, I don't know. Do you know what? It's not really to do with the podcast, but I suppose over the last couple of years, I've found myself very much pushing for meaning, if you get me, because I was kind of working jobs a lot that I didn't like, and I found myself kind of being pretty unhappy with where I was in the world. And I started blaming, blaming the fact that I was an immigrant in a different country and I don't speak the language very well. But it's not really that. But what I kind of found was that you are of what you make of a situation. So I was having a bad time, but that's because I was always in a bad mindset. And so over the last couple of years, I've been pushing myself to kind of not exactly get out of my comfort zone, but to push myself to do things that I haven't done before, or go places that I haven't been to before, or try and meet new people that I haven't met before, speak to new people. And I suppose this was really the idea about doing the comedy cast. It was because I'm just a massive comedy fan. I always have been for as long as I remember. Like the first television I watched cartoons and stuff, they were always funny. So comedy's always something I was interested in, and I just wanted to get to know more about the craft of comedy. Like I'm never going to be a stand-up comedian. I think I maybe sometime I would do it, but I'd only like to do it to experience like what it's like to be really, really terrible and have nobody laugh at your jokes. But just because that's a funny experience. At the time it would be horrible, but if then you talk about it later, it's hilarious. Because comedy's tragedy plus time. This whole thing. So really, that's I was kind of pushing myself to do new things and kind of find meaning. I'm a bit of an existentialist. I don't think that there's much meaning to life. I think we give life too much meaning and searching for meaning. But at the same time, I suppose the existentialist would say that by giving something meaning, then that gives it its meaning. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's no, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
God, that was very deep, wasn't it?
It was like it's the most.
What was in my coffee?
It's the most. It's comical, if you would. Yeah, the thing that has no meaning is giving everything so much meaning by speaking about it not having meaning.
Yeah. It's completely crazy. It's that, nothing in life has meaning, but if you give it meaning, then it does have meaning. It's like, oh.
I think it was the 3 seconds, though.
Yeah.
It was, folks, we are live with Spud. Hey, Spud has an amazing podcast, Spud Murphy. Check it out, Comedy Central, right? Spud, it's really amazing. This is the second time around we're having this conversation, but you do create a space that and I said the Comedy Central, sorry, the Comedy Cast, but it's just warm, right? So it's just cool. It's cool. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. It's great to get. It's really wonderful to get praise from your peers. You know what I mean? It's great because it means a lot. Like I put a lot of work into into the podcast and into the videos now as well, and it means a lot when other people are enjoying them. So thank you very much. It really motivates me to become better and to do better work.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's switch gears, Spud, and let me now invite you into my time machine that is surrounded by beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Spud, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Oh, here we go. You know what's coming here, don't you? I remember I was about 3, maybe 4 years old, and I remember lying in bed beside my mom. I don't remember why I was in bed with her, because usually I slept in my own bed. I didn't have a lot of nightmares. I wouldn't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I woke up beside her in the bed, and next thing, I was just lying there in the morning, and I remember the light coming in through the window, and next thing my grandmother burst into the room with a mouse trap in her hand and the dead body of a mouse in the mouse trap. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? And she said, I finally got the little son of a... I just thought, and like, and when I told my wife that story, only a couple of weeks ago, she asked me what was my earliest memory. I told her that, and she's like, well, that would explain why you're pretty messed up, all right. Yeah, so the first thing I remember is my grandmother catching a mouse in a mouse trap, and I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means.
How old do you think you were?
I couldn't, the oldest I could have been is 4. I couldn't have been more than 4. So I was between 3 and 4, I'd say.
Why do you think this memory is so clear?
I have no idea. I really can't. I can't imagine why it's so clear. I do remember living in that old house. It was a very small house. It was beside my grandma. She was our neighbour. She wasn't living with us. It was a small terraced house. And I just remember... I don't know, like I remember living in that house very vividly, even though I was very young when we left that house. I remember all the rooms. I remember we were beside a pub. It was very difficult to sleep on the weekends because it was where the bikers used to drink. But I mean, they were Irish bikers. They weren't like Hell's Angels or anything. These guys were like, you know, there was no drugs or anything going on. Well, maybe there was, but anyway. Yeah, I just remember her walking in because my granny was a big influence on my life. You know, she was just a brilliant, powerful person. She was crazy though. She really liked Formula One. She's the only old person I know who liked Formula One. Isn't that crazy? Old people don't like that. She loved the noise of the cars. It was crazy, yeah. And she loved South Park. She loved South Park.
That explains
honestly, man, she loved South Park. My granny, yeah, she loved South Park.
Well, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Yeah, go for it.
I love the idea of the ability that little baby, that 3-year-old who's lying on that bed, had to capture a moment that could be so funny, or at least the interpretation of the moment, right? Because, you know, before when we spoke, you didn't speak about the light. Like, I remember the light coming in the room. It's like theater, right?
Yeah.
I remember the light coming in the room, and then she walks in, right? And then it's like punchline. I finally... But just to see that mind work.
I mean, like, can you imagine, like, the family must have been going crazy about this mouse, because for her to burst into my mother's bedroom with the mouse, like, this mouse must have been... I'm going to ask my mom later, actually. I'm going to, but maybe she won't remember.
Well, it's really amazing. It's really amazing how it connects. If we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
Oh, my favorite. I'm so ashamed of this. Like, when I was like 15, 16, I was into much cooler music. I was into guitar rock, the Beatles, the Kinks, Led Zeppelin, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all that kind of grunge stuff, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. But when I was 12, I was such a loser. I was listening to like Bryan Adams and East 17, and like when Michael Jackson was really bad, when he did the Dangerous album, I was just ashamed of myself. And it was because like I was from this little tiny village where like I didn't know anything about rock and roll or heavy metal or hip hop or any of that. All I knew was pop radio, and I thought, yeah, everybody listens to pop radio. Why was I wrong? I remember driving into my local town to go to some piano lessons one time, and I remember hearing Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time, and I just went, oh my God, why am I listening to pop music? This is amazing. But yeah, sorry, I was into terrible music when I was 12. Bryan Adams, yeah, Wet, Wet, Wet was another one. E17. Oh, I was terrible. I'm so ashamed of that period in my life.
Spud, we have arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. Spud, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Sure. I would like to be able to teach my son these kind of things, because already now he's only 2, but already he has he already has a little xylophone, a guitar, a little piano. So I want to get him into music and get him into those types of things as well and help him along. I'll never push him, of course, but it's something I would love to see encouraged in him. And then if he would like to get into more type of podcast, kind of broadcast things, then of course I'd love to help him as well and teach him what I know.
Now you have one son. Are you married?
Yeah, I'm married. Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
No, I'd like to, but I'm not able to.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
Or about 3 hours a week?
Oh yeah, 3 hours a week for sure.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Oh, my computer, yeah. It's yes. As soon as I wake up in the morning until I go to bed at night, my laptop is on.
Yeah, he made me do the same thing too, amazing audience. Woke up.
It was worth it.
It's definitely worth it. After 1001 conversations, I came up with a workbook, and it's called Yours, and it stands for your own unique real self. But connected to that is your own unique real statement. If you had to share with us a statement that represents Spud Murphy, Patrick Murphy, if you would, what would you say that is?
You know what? Just do it.
Yeah, I love it.
Just give it a shot. Carpe diem, all those different types of things. Just take the chance, and if it fails, well, you can laugh about it in the future anyway.
Spud Murphy, hey, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, look, just thanks for this opportunity. I really appreciate it, and it really motivates me with the podcast. If anyone wants to listen to the podcast, of course, just Google the Comedy Cast. You'll find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Again, just search the Comedy Cast, and you'll find everything there. And I really hope you enjoy the podcast.
Love it. Spud Murphy, thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you, Angel. That was lovely.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.